At least 7 people were injured in the missile strike, while 2 others were hospitalized, and 23 private homes, 12 apartment buildings, and a post office suffered damage. Ukraine and Russia are exchanging fire on multiple fronts. Bridges are being destroyed, cities are burning, and oil depots are under attack.
At exactly 4:27 in the morning, Moscow's most critical fuel hub lit up the sky, not from a Russian strike, but from a swarm of Ukrainian kamikaze drones that came in from every direction. Air defenses scrambled, helicopters tried to douse flames, but nothing worked. Why was this single operation not just another strike, but the beginning of a new kind of war, one fought by machines, deception, and relentless coordination? Stick with this video because the answers reveal a side of modern warfare few are prepared to face. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
All right, in other news, Russia has conducted fresh strikes on Ukraine's Zaporizhia region. Ukraine says Russian forces carried out 567 attacks over the last 24 hours.
Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. The explosion in Moscow's fuel depot seemed sudden, but the operation behind it had been quietly set in motion weeks in advance. What looked like chaos at dawn was the product of careful timing, layers of infiltration, and machines lying in wait. The idea that a facility protected by overlapping security networks could be broken in minutes raises an obvious question. How was it possible? The answer begins not in the sky, but on the ground, where robotic units were planted in silence long before the attack ever began. Planning for this strike involved infiltration teams that guided small robotic systems close to the perimeter of the depot. These weren't weapons that fired immediately, but rather mine-laying units designed to be patient. They crawled under dark cover, lodged themselves beneath sections of the underground pipelines, and then powered down, waiting to be reawakened. Weeks passed with Russian personnel working just meters above without realizing that silent machines were buried beneath them. Above ground, reconnaissance drones circled far from radar, feeding imagery back to analysts, marking guard patrol timings, identifying sensor coverage, and charting weaknesses in the electronic shield Moscow trusted. The Russians had reasons to feel untouchable at first. Their S-400 systems, the pride of their anti-air shield, were positioned around critical infrastructure with layers of surface-to-air protection. Each layer was meant to catch different threats: low-flying drones, cruise missiles, fast jets. The doctrine was simple: anything that flies near Moscow should be detected and destroyed before it approached. Yet when the attack started, those layers fell silent. Ukrainian units didn't charge head-on. Instead, they switched on electronic warfare, blanketing frequencies, jamming radar sweeps, and sending false signals back to control rooms. Picture operators staring at clean screens while dozens of slow-moving drones advanced. To them, nothing was there. To the depot on the ground, the swarm was already closing in. The offensive opened with a wave of kamikaze drones arriving from multiple points of the compass at once. Some skimmed treetops, others flew openly, their purpose being to overwhelm and confuse what defenses weren't jammed. At the same time, reconnaissance UAVs fed back coordinates of active firefighting teams, control nodes, and fuel storage tanks. Real-time mapping gave commanders the ability to guide explosives onto high-value zones with surgical accuracy. Every second these drones remained in the air increased their intelligence picture, turning raw footage into live targeting data. While air defenders scrambled to adjust, blasts under the depot signaled another part of the operation. The robotic mines buried beneath pipelines detonated almost in sync with the aerial strikes. Pressure built instantly in the network of pipes, rupturing valves and igniting a chain reaction across multiple wings of the facility. The depot wasn't just being hit from above, it was bleeding from beneath, with fire spreading through systems designed to carry thousands of tons of fuel. Moscow's fortress was being gutted from the inside out. To grasp the scale, imagine a walled city preparing for a siege. Archers on towers, gates reinforced, patrols scanning the horizon. Yet instead of battering rams at the gate, tiny saboteurs tunneled inside long before the battle began. By the time defenders looked outward for the enemy, the inner walls were being collapsed by hidden charges. Add to this an aerial assault battering from above, and the strength of the fortress becomes meaningless. That was the reality inside the refinery that morning. Russian helicopters were scrambled almost immediately. Crews carried flame-retardant gear, dumping foam and water on spreading fires. Their mission was to contain damage before an inferno consumed the entire depot. But every approach became dangerous. Loitering munitions, a different class of drones, waited deliberately above the smoke. When helicopters approached the blaze, they were tracked and targeted. Multiple rescue attempts were abandoned after pilots realized they were as vulnerable as the facility itself. Fires continued unchecked as drones circled overhead, forcing responders to pull back. The greatest damage wasn't the initial fireball that lit the skyline, as destructive as it looked to outside observers. It was the combination, the orchestration of aerial kamikaze drones, subterranean robotic mines, and persistent electronic jamming that collapsed the facility's layered defenses. Few military systems are designed to fight threats from the ground, air, and spectrum all at once. By blending each element, the attackers revealed how fragile even a protected site could become. This wasn't random improvisation or opportunistic strikes. It was a coordinated demonstration of robotic warfare, showing how machines in different domains can overwhelm defenses tuned to conventional threats. If Moscow's most secure fuel hub could be blinded and encircled in just minutes, the question is obvious. What happens when this method spreads to more strategic locations, beyond one depot, beyond one city? This wasn't simply an attack on a depot. It was a calculated demonstration of the battlefield to come, where machines replace human exposure with precision, patience, and overwhelming pressure. Every part of the strike, from electronic jamming to mines hidden beneath pipelines, showed how layered defenses fail when threat axes multiply. If unmanned systems can cripple Moscow's supply lines today, tomorrow no site can be considered untouchable. War has shifted from soldier-to-soldier clashes into machine-driven networks, reshaping logistics, air defense, and survival itself. The only question left is not if robotic warfare dominates, but how fast it spreads.